Khamzat Chimaev was officially robbed in the latest UFC rankings. Also, Dricus du Plessis doesn't want to fight Sean Strickland. He wants to fight Khamzat Chimaev. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Also, a pair of UFC fighters were dismissed, removed from the UFC roster. We'll get to those names and more topics next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA Podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
What up? What up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TCMMA Podcast. Well, they did it. They officially did it. We talked about this last week. I knew there was a possibility of this happening, but they disrespected Khamzat Chimaev again. And maybe it's for the best because it'll only make him hungrier. But Nassourdine Imavov beat Israel Adesanya last week. So Adesanya was 2 in the middleweight division, Khamzat 3, Imavov 5. So he beats Adesanya, and I'm like, okay, you got an aging fighter who's now lost 3 in a row. They're not going to move Imavov up over Khamzat Chimaev, right? I mean, it's just not even fathomable. It's not going to happen. Well, yep, they sure did. And guess what everyone's saying? Khamzat Chimaev moves over Israel Adesanya. Well, that was obvious. The guy's lost 3 in a row. I don't want to go as far as to say he's finished, but the guy has lost 3 fights in a row. Imavov does not deserve to jump over Khamzat Chimaev. I hate to tell you, but Khamzat would smash. He would smash Nassourdine Imavov. Why else is the current champ in du Plessis saying he wanted to fight Khamzat? And he's made it known, like, you want to do it now. You want to fight Khamzat now, not later, but right now. Make a statement now. Really, before he gets any better. But they did it. These rankings, it's like, okay, you beat the number 2, you are number 2. And I get that, but it doesn't work that way in college football, which I like, right? I like if you're the number 10 contender and you upset the number 3 contender, you jump way up, but they don't put you at 3. They put you, when Max Holloway beat Gaethje, they didn't put him all the way up at 2. They put him at like 5, 6, or 7. So why does Khamzat keep getting disrespected? It's like, and now you got the talks of, well, should it be Imavov or should it be Khamzat fighting for the title? Well, I don't know. So now we have a controversy on our hands in a sense that now Dana White has said Khamzat is next, but now Imavov is ahead of him. So what's going to happen? Is Dana White going to stay true to his word? I want to believe so, but this is a business. This is a business. And when it comes to a business, it's about making money. Now, to me, you make more money by putting Khamzat in the title fight. No questions asked. I mean, you saw what he went in there and did against Robert Whittaker, a guy who fought Ikram Aliskerov and just dismantled him. So everyone's going into the Khamzat Whittaker fight like, yeah, Khamzat's getting beat. That's what all the naysayers were saying, right? Khamzat's getting beat. Robert Whittaker's back. And then Khamzat goes in there and finishes him in like 2.5 minutes. And not only finished him, you remember how he finished him. I mean, it messed Whittaker up after the fact. So, what else does this guy need to do to get the title fight? You see other guys like Khalil Roundtree Jr., just to name one of many. It's like the number 7 contender fighting for the light heavyweight title. Why can't Khamzat get his shot? It's like Khamzat's got to keep waiting for someone else to come up, and now they jump up, and now do they deserve it? It's like, no, Khamzat's done what he's supposed to do to get a title fight. And to me, it don't matter who wins between du Plessis and Strickland. Strickland's not as big on Khamzat for obvious reasons as du Plessis. Du Plessis says he wants to fight Khamzat right now. And you got to give the guy credit because he's not going after someone that he knows he can beat. He's going after a guy that he's like, okay, if I don't fight him now and beat him right now, this guy is going to be trouble in the next 2 to 3 years. He's only going to get better for a while. He's only 30 years old. He's right in the prime middle at his height right now. So face him now before he gets even better over the next 2 to 3 years. You know, by the time he starts falling off, Du Plessis will be long gone. So to protect your house, to protect your title, don't wait a year or two when you know Khamzat is more likely to beat you. Fight him right now because he's only getting better. And you got to respect that from Dricus Du Plessis. I mean, you got to respect it. He could take the easy way. He could fight Imavov next if he wanted to, but that's not what he wants. And he's clear about that. Now, Chael Sonnen saying in a recent YouTube video that he's confident Khamzat Chimaev is UFC 312 title fight backup. So if this is true, that means Khamzat's been training. That means he's ready to make weight, all these things. I don't know. I know that he's got visa issues. Can he get into Australia? I don't know. There's already talk that he'll be able to fight in the U.S. possibly now. Does that have to do with us having a new president? Does that have to do with him changing his nationality? They're going to find a way to get Khamzat in the country. I mean, Dana White and the president are like what would appear to be close friends. So I think that they can make it happen if they want to. But Chael Sonnen saying on YouTube says, I think Chimaev is the backup fighter. I don't believe that Chimaev is just the number one contender. I don't believe that the proximity of this fight is something that you would not book Chimaev, who allegedly has Western travel issues. I don't think you would do that without bringing him in. I'm confident that Chimaev will be there. I'm confident he will be in attendance. So why, if you're flying him out, would you not put him on the scale the day before? I'm asking. I don't know that answer. And, you know, this is a story because of what happened with Arman Sarukian and Islam Makhachev, right? But luckily, you had Renato Moicano, another lightweight fighter, fighting. You don't have any other middleweight fights here in this card. So you don't have anybody that could step in at the last moment. If one of these guys go out and you have no backup, then this whole card falls apart fast. I mean, this whole card is revolving around Dricus Du Plessis and Sean Strickland. So I would assume they have a backup fighter. Because you don't even have a good enough well, I guess you do with Zhang Weili and Tatiana Suarez. I mean, that fight is trending like crazy, but would it sell at the top of the ticket? I don't think so. So I'm sure the UFC has a plan in place. I mean, how could they not? But you never know. UFC champ Dricus Du Plessis. Mentality on fighting sure raises eyebrows. When he told Mark Boris, when I go in there, if the ref doesn't stop it, I'm not stopping. I can be sitting on you for 10 minutes doing what I'm doing. And if the ref doesn't say stop, I'm not stopping. That is a question that me as a modern day gladiator has to ask myself. Am I willing to do everything I got to do, basically? Absolutely, he says. That's easy. And that's what you want to hear from Dricus. That's why I predict Dricus wins this fight. I predicted it the first time. It was very close. It was the striking of Sean Strickland versus the takedown ability of Dricus. Sean Strickland famously saying, let's agree to a stand-up striking affair. Well, of course that's what he wants. That's to his advantage. But Dricus took him down 6 times. But yeah, Dricus is everything you want in a champion. I think Khamzat is better, but obviously could be a tough fight for Khamzat because he struggled against bigger fighters like Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman. So we'll have to wait and see. But then he went in there and dismantled Robert Whittaker and made it look easy. So who's to say he can't do that against anyone in the world? That's what I want to find out. They keep making us wait on this, and it's just ridiculous now. We've been talking about this since 2019. It's 6 years later. As we said earlier, Du Plessis says he would rather fight Chimaev than Strickland. Saying I wanted to fight with Khamzat Chimaev because you have to forge iron while it's hot. There was big hype, and it would be good for all of us. I would have preferred to fight with Khamzat. I think he deserves it more, even though he doesn't have many fights. But if you look at Strickland's last fight against Costa, that kind of thing should never, ever guarantee a title shot to anyone. I mean, I agree. That's a thing. So Strickland's getting a title fight off a weak performance against Paulo Costa. Khamzat smashes Robert Whittaker, who everybody was hailing before the fight, and he can't get a title fight for his life. Duplessis does go on to say it was a dominant performance by Strickland. Okay. I might be off base there a little bit, but a terrible fight to watch. And then Khamzat comes out and does what he did to Rob. A performance like that immediately puts you at the front of the queue. So, listen, as Khamzat fans, we have to like Dricus Duplessis, right? We have to like Dricus. There's no question about it. And I see the chat room is on fire. It always is when Khamzat's in the news. I love it. King Terzi says Chimaev is already fighting International Fight Week. He is? Who's he fighting? Dricus coach said it's confirmed. So are you saying he's fighting for the title International Fight Week? That would be great. I didn't hear that yet. I hope that's the case. Imavov is fighting Kyle Barajo. Okay. So now Imavov beats Adesanya, wins 2 fights above his pay grade, and now he's fighting down. See, things don't make any sense sometimes. You would think that Imavov would fight the loser of Strickland and Duplessis, which puts him right in title contention. I don't think a win against Barajo does. Marty Party says Dana White wanted Khamzat in the USA. That's why they did Strickland versus DDP to get it out of the way. Okay. Strickland and Dricus both said they want Chimaev next no matter what. See, I didn't hear Strickland say that, so I like that. Khamzat Boers Chimaev superfan. Khamzat is next. Don't worry, bro. Imavov is just ranked 2 because he beat Izzy. It's not saying he's next. Right, but the discussion is starting. See, the waters are being muddied right now, which is what I knew would happen. And I just hope that Dana White sticks to what he said he would do. And yes, King Terzi, we are live. We are live. Khamzat Chimaev, Boers fan. Surprising that Nickel ranked number 15 now. He's fighting number 11 Costa in Miami. Really? Is this confirmed? Okay, I like that matchup. That's a true test for Bo Nickel. I mean, because Costa still got something to prove. He was undefeated, so he lost, against some good fighters. And I'm not seeing that anywhere, but that would be good. So Bo Nickel's in the top 15. That's big for him. The UFC would like Bo Nickel to keep winning because that's the future super fight. If Bo Nickel keeps going in the direction he's going, he struggled a little bit in his last fight, but if he keeps going in the direction he's going, theoretically, he's going to be really good. A guy that can take the fight to the ground if necessary as well. Could that be the super fight against Khamzat? I don't see that right now from Bo Nickel, but that's not to say he doesn't come out in the next fight and obliterate somebody and is back right on the path that he was on before he before he won the last fight, which wasn't a finish, wasn't a spectacular fight, but you would expect that from a guy that's on his way up. You would expect the guy to have a setback. No questions asked. King Terzi, is that confirmed? He's fighting Costa. I only saw rumors so far, and that's what I'm seeing too. I'm seeing rumors. Don't have a definitive answer, but I'll take their word for it. And usually if the rumors are circulating like that in a fight that makes sense, neither guy's in title contention right now, I could see that happening. And Paul Lacoste is a guy that's not turning down anybody. I mean, what was he like, 12, 13-0 at one point and has lost 3 or 4 in a row? Fighting Adesanya, Strickland, all these type of guys. Low Volt Dude says, how do you feel about Rosenstrike getting cut? So let's move on to that story while you're on that topic. So 2 fighters got cut, Rosenstrike and Jamal Pogues. Jamal Pogues, okay, I understand. Jairzinho Rosenstrike, I don't get it. So obviously his contract must have ran out. This guy it's a tough call because I don't think they should have cut him. Because basically he's on his way up and then starts fighting at the top and he's losing to everybody up there. He's just losing to everybody. And the UFC is looking at this like, all right, we can keep you around, but you're just going to be holding a spot. But the heavyweight division isn't loaded. So I don't understand why you wouldn't want a guy like Rosenstrike being a gatekeeper, sitting there taking on guys coming in, trying, Rosenstrike will be in the top 10 right around there, and he's going to take on guys that are trying to crack the top 10. And it's like, okay, if you want to get through into the top 10, you got to beat Rosenstrike and use him for 3 to 5 fights like that. I don't see why the UFC wouldn't want to do that. I guess we'll have to wait and see what Dana White says about this. I'm sure he'll speak on it. But Rosenstrike was a guy that was productive in the UFC. Now, he didn't look good in the last fight by any means, but the fight did go to a decision. He battled. And he's still not a top-tier guy, but a high mid-level. And he could continue to be a gatekeeper. Now he's not running towards a title. I think we could see that over the last 2 to 3 fights, but at any time he could have won this last fight against Pavlovich or the fight before, and it's like, okay, now he's reversed course. He's in the prime. He could make a run maybe. Ngannou obliterated him back in the day. Ngannou's gone, so you never, like, John Jones won't be there forever, so maybe he can sneak up there, but he keeps losing. I just don't think the UFC should have got rid of him. I don't think the time was now. But listen, it's a business, and they're going to do what they got to do. Marty Party. Sean Strickland keeps saying Chimaev is next because he brings the most dollars. Yeah, and I agree. But I'll tell you what, if I'm Sean Strickland, I don't want any part of Khamzat. Because how do these guys not know that Khamzat is going to come in there and just wreck shop, man? When Khamzat Chimaev is healthy, nobody is beating him. Okay? Let's get past the Gilbert Burns and Usman. Burns, he shouldn't be fighting at welterweight. That was clear in that fight. But he still did what he had to do to win it in the 3rd round in a very close split decision. I believe it was split anyway. And then it might have been 29-28 all 3, but it was very close 3rd round, like 64-62 in significant strikes. And he got knocked down. Then against Usman, he dominates the 1st round, controls Usman on the ground, which is crazy to even consider that at that point in time. Usman has one of the best takedown defense in all the UFC. Just tore him apart on the ground. And then something looked different. But we're looking back to the Gilbert Burns fight, right? Oh, Khamzat has no gas tank. Here comes the 2nd and 3rd round. And then it turns out that he hurt his hand, right? So there's reasons there. Sean Strickland, he just demolishes Sean Strickland. Imavov demolishes him. I think the best chance for anyone to put up a fight is going to be Dricus, because Dricus is still, Dricus is thick, right? And Dricus has some ground ability. I don't think it matters. Let me be real. I don't think it matters. But if anyone's going to have a chance, it's going to be Dricus. It's going to be the Bo Nickel types in a few years. Guys that have some ground ability and are thick, right? And could keep the fight standing at times where, people might perceive that they have an advantage against Khamzat, which right now, that's the best opportunity you got, is to defend takedowns and keep it standing. Easier said than done, nearly impossible, but that's what you got to do. And Dricus has the best chance to do that. Terzi says, still beat Usman, who's the toughest matchup. Still beat a hungry, nothing to lose, prime, surging Gilbert Burns, right? A guy who's looking to get back to the title. Fighting him early in the career, losing a bunch of weight, barely making weight, right? Then again, you had the whole Nate Diaz fiasco where Khamzat really, why do you want to fight Nate Diaz? What does that do for you? And came in like 7 pounds overweight. They, in fact, I think the day before, really early, said stop cutting weight. And then they just switched it to Kevin Holland. People were fired up and mad at Khamzat for that, but he's not a welterweight, And there's no motivation to fight Nate Diaz. He feels like he'll go in there and dismantle him. So, he's not one of the top guys anymore. Terzi says that Burns fight was one of the best fights of all time. Yeah, when you consider the numbers of that fight, and so Khamzat couldn't get the takedowns like he normally would get. That ought to show you that his strength isn't there. So now you're forced in a stand-up striking battle with Gilbert Burns. And then Gilbert Burns is thick, right? So Khamzat's got a little bit tougher a time, getting around him, getting a takedown. Then the fight goes on and you're sweating, so now guys are slippery. And this leads into Gilbert Burns' hands, and it's a stand-up striking fight. And you look at the numbers, which are great, and then you hit the 3rd round and it just skyrockets to 64-62 or something like that. I could see how you could make that statement for sure. Marty Party. So is Islam fighting Topuria now? Dana been hinting something special. I think that's the fight that, I guess that's the fight to make. I mean, they have both just decimated their divisions, but I really wanted to see Islam probably won't go up and fight at welterweight because that's his teammate now. They're both training with Khabib. But ultimately, what does Islam have to defend his lightweight belt against a featherweight? Why is he not going up? Why is he the one that has to take the L on this one? Islam is too good to take the L. Islam should be going up to fight at welterweight and would probably easily win that fight. And it's a shame. Khamzat Chimaev superfan. I have to root for Shavkat to win versus Bilal. So we get Shavkat Islam. Now that's what I'm talking about. If Shavkat beats Bilal, which I don't know how I'm going to have to look at that one closely because Bilal's a whole different fighter now. Like Bilal fighting Leon, I'm like, yeah, Leon's going to win this fight. And Bilal got that head on the hip, and it's like you're watching a slightly lower version of Khabib, and you're like, oh my gosh, so another 6 months or a year, this guy's going to be even better at this. And he knows how to go in and just control the fight. And when these guys get their head on the hip and they take you down, they just have their way with you and run out the clock and land some ground and pound, and they got you in defending submissions, and you can't do anything with it. I mean, Bilal looks like a whole different fighter. So Shavkat versus Bilal, to me, is going to be an interesting fight. But if Shavkat does indeed win, then Islam definitely moves up. Because now it's not like you're fighting Bilal, a guy that you train with a little bit that works with Khabib too. And it's almost like the Aljamain Sterling, Merab Dvalishvili situation. Not quite as bad, but they'll dodge each other until they can't anymore. Bilal is what Colby used to be in his prime. And now we have Shavkat humanized. That's a good point. Bilal is like Colby, yeah. And now we have Shavkat humanized. Going to be tough for both guys. Yeah. Yeah. And imagine Shavkat gets the title before Khamzat. I mean, Khamzat's been around a lot longer than a lot of these new guys that are like a Shavkat that's going up to get the title. He's been in the UFC longer, and he's had some setbacks. With the Leon Edwards, he was forced out, and Robert Whittaker, he was forced out, and he had to wait another 6 to 8 months for that. And, so he's had setbacks, but at the same time, it's like, man, just feed us, please. We need to see Khamzat in a title fight. 49ers faithful forever in the house. I see you. Marty Party. Islam versus Usman would be interesting at 170. Yes, it would. And man, where is Usman? We haven't seen Usman in forever. I mean, in forever. And you don't imagine that he's just going to come back and be what he was now. He's just getting older every day. That's why I would think sometimes these guys go away like an Adesanya. Adesanya made the right move. Usman's making the right move. Let me go away and disappear for a little bit. Let me train hardcore for a year and a half, and get back to where I was. But the problem is you can't reverse age. So I say you fight now, because every day you're just getting older and you're not what you used to be. So I think Islam would. It's hard to say. I mean, Islam at 170 is going to be interesting, but yeah, I got to believe he would beat Usman in that fight. King Terzi, Khamzat gets the title in June. Shavkat would get the title in May. Yeah, because they're already freed up. Yep. So Shavkat's going to get it first, which to me is just, I'll be happy for Shavkat, but it's like, dang, man, I want to see Khamzat win the belt. I'm ready for Khamzat to take over. Shavkat, Islam will be around for a while. I'm ready to see all these dudes take over. And, it just seems like we got to keep waiting. But if it happens in 2025, I'll take it for sure. 49ers faithful forever says Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett needs to happen. And man, Michael Chandler just been waiting in the wings forever. That Conor McGregor fight. Can you imagine like they're just dangling money over your head, and every time you try to grab it, they just raise it higher. Like you can't get the money. I mean, it's insane. You just can't get the money. But it is what it is. Usman Izzy combined 0-6 in the last 6. Yeah, it's rough, man. It's absolutely rough. But listen, that's the word on the street. I mean, Khamzat gets robbed in the latest UFC rankings. We're going to have to see how all this turns out. But it's disappointing that he's ranked 3, even though this means nothing. I just have a feeling we're going to hear more of this talk of Imavov fighting for the title. We'll have to wait and see. But listen, for now, this is your boy Chris Cross. It's been real. We had to get in and break the news of the UFC rankings to you, get back and forth in the Q&A. But until next time, this is your boy Chris Cross. Have a great day, and God bless. Peace.